Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times News Podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes. To keep in touch with us, use our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, which are all at Q and Review. That's CUEANDREVIEW. Or get in touch via information@qandreview.com. That's information at CUEANDREVIEW.com. Please like and share our podcast and give us any constructive feedback.
From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 30th of June 2022, from the news section. Warning issued as A&Es in Glasgow over capacity with bottleneck queues, by digital journalist Rebecca Newlands. People across Glasgow are being warned of A&Es being over capacity and queues creating bottlenecks at hospital doors. Dr Scott Davidson, Deputy Medical Director for Acute Services for NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, NHS GGC, says that hospital staff are facing immense pressure to cope with the number of patients coming to accident and emergency. Dr Davidson said, "Our staff are working around the clock to make sure we continue to see the sickest patients coming to our A&Es, but we're over capacity. Services are stowed out, creating a bottleneck at the front door, and, as a result, patients are unfortunately having to wait long periods of time to be treated. The increase in the number of patients has been largely down to the backup of people holding off visiting A&E because of the COVID pandemic and who are now sicker compared to the previous pandemic spikes. Staff shortages have also contributed to the issue of busy hospitals. Dr Davidson said, "I am truly humbled by the ongoing efforts of our staff. They're working incredibly hard in the face of these challenges. From care provided in the community, HCSPs, GPs and pharmacists, through to all the staff across hospital and acute sites, everyone has been forced to manage different and new demands." Dr Davidson added, "We're in summer and our A&Es are comparable, if not busier, than we'd normally expect during the winter months. The pressures run through the service, with beds unavailable for ongoing treatment within our hospitals as we manage challenges." The clinician is urging people to consider using the NHS Inform app or calling their GP to access a virtual A&E, and only visit A&E if the situation is very urgent or life-threatening. He said, "It's absolutely crucial for the public to help us now by really considering how they access urgent care. Do you need to come to A&E or could you be better served elsewhere? Unless it's life-threatening or very urgent, do not come to A&E. Use your pharmacy, phone your GP or call 111 to access NHS GGC's virtual A&E. You might still face a wait to use these services, but for most people, you'll be seen much faster than if you came to A&E. Anyone requiring medical attention should consider the following options. Visit the NHS Inform website, www.nhsinform.scot. 2. Call NHS 24 on 111. 3. Visit the NHS GGC website, www.nhsggc.scot. For life-threatening emergencies, the public should continue calling 999 or attending A&E. And that was a piece by Rebecca Newlands. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 30th of July 2022, from the news section. Former Glasgow SNP MP Natalie McGarry jailed for 2 years for embezzlement, by Lucinda Cameron and Sarah Campbell. A former SNP MP who embezzled almost £25,000 from two pro-independence groups has been jailed for 2 years. Natalie McGarry, 40, who represented Glasgow East between 2015 and 2017, was convicted of 2 charges of embezzlement totalling £24,635 in May, following a trial at Glasgow Sheriff Court. A jury found her guilty by majority of a charge of embezzling £19,974 while she was Treasurer of Women for Independence, WFI, between April 26, 2013 and November 30, 2015. She was also found guilty by majority of a second charge of taking £4,661 between April the 9th, 2014 and August the 10th, 2015, when she was Treasurer, Secretary and Convener of the Glasgow Regional Association of the SNP. Sentencing McGarry, Sheriff Tom Hughes said she had betrayed people who put their trust in her and that a custodial sentence was inevitable. He told her, "It's quite clear that society has a right to expect the highest standard from those who seek and eventually achieve high public office." He added, "Through your role in these offences, you have not only betrayed the trust placed in you by others, but your standards have fallen well short of those the public should have the right to expect from MPs." Over the course of the 6-week trial, the court heard from dozens of witnesses, including Scotland's former Health Secretary Jean Freeman, who said she reported McGarry after noting a significant shortfall in WFI accounts. Ms Freeman said she had no idea donations made to the group's independence crowdfunder were going from the organisation's PayPal account into McGarry's personal bank account. She also voiced her frustrations at McGarry's delay in handing over receipts and invoices, which would show that what the funds had been spent on. The court also heard from witnesses that McGarry had personal financial difficulties and regularly received loans from families and friends. That included from Humza Yousaf, the current Scottish Health Secretary, who gave McGarry £600 to prevent her from being evicted from her house. The court also saw McGarry's bank records, which showed crowdfunder donations from WFI being transferred to her own personal account. It included £10,472 on April the 29th, 2014, and a further £9,848 on November the 12th, 2014, which she used to pay for rent and shopping. McGarry had said these were legitimate expenses which she had incurred and which she was reimbursing herself for. McGarry was elected as an SNP member in 2015, but resigned the party whip after the emergence of fraud allegations, which she denied. She continued in Parliament as an independent MP representing Glasgow East, but did not seek re-election in 2017. And that article was by Lucinda Cameron and Sarah Campbell. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 30th of June 2022, from the news section, ScotRail services between Glasgow Queen Street and Inverness disrupted after freight train crash, by Sarah Campbell, digital journalist. A number of ScotRail services have been disrupted this afternoon after a freight train container crashed into a number of bridges in the Highlands. At around 10:50 am, Network Rail received reports of a damaged bridge in the Perth area. A spokesperson for the firm said, "Earlier today, a container on a freight train came into contact with 3 bridges over the railway between Perth and Dunkeld. The Highland Main Line has been closed as a safety precaution while engineers inspect the structures for any damage. We'll reopen the line as soon as we can." Although trains towards Perth have now resumed, the incident continues to impact services between Glasgow Queen Street and Inverness, with cancellations, delays or revisions expected. A ScotRail spokesperson said, "Our colleagues over at Sign Network Rail Scot are responding to reports of a bridge being damaged near Perth. This will need to be examined before services can pass over the bridge again." Services between Inverness and Glasgow/Edinburgh will be subject to cancellation or alterations. For the latest updates, visit the ScotRail site www.scotrail.co.uk. And that was an article by Sarah Campbell.
Evening Times, June 30. Lifestyle. Vibrant mural transforms lane in Glasgow's Garnet Hill. Report by Nicole Mitchell. A vibrant new mural has brought a splash of colour to a city centre lane. The large-scale public artwork by Glasgow Art School graduate Ida Henrich has transformed the dingy Reed Lane in Garnet Hill into a colourful space. Courtesy of a collaboration between the community, St Aloysius College and the Glasgow School of Art, The mural celebrates the idea of care for the common home and has now been added to the city centre mural trail. Ida, who graduated in 2017, ran workshops with the S3 class of St Aloysius, as well as 2 sessions with the Children's Art Group at Garnet Hill Multicultural Centre, sharing the process of designing, scaling and painting a mural. She said, "I was inspired by the Garnet Hill Community Garden and old tenement tile designs to create a mural in which wildlife and the imagination could roam free. In the workshops, I hope to find out about the things local youngsters liked about Garnet Hill and what would make them feel happy and safe. The workshops revealed wildlife, cats, community gardens, birds, foxes, sweets, swings, the bread oven, a rock, and imagination as key factors. In my experience, murals bring a lot of joy to an area, particularly when local voices are being heard. Passers-by are thankful for the colourful wall and say that the design makes them happy." Professor Penny Macbeth, director of the Glasgow School of Art, said, "We were delighted to support the creation of this wonderful new mural in the heart of our community. Congratulations to Ida and the young people who have together made a wonderful artwork which reflects both Garnet Hill as an area and the issues which today's young people find especially important. It is excellent news that the mural has now been added to the Glasgow City Centre mural trail. I hope that this will encourage more people to come and enjoy this vibrant addition to Garnet Hill's public realm." Matthew Bartlett, headmaster at St Aloysius College, said, "We are thrilled to have worked with our neighbour, the GSA, on this wonderful and important piece of work. Our young people have relished the opportunity to collaborate with a professional artist and see their vision come to life. The fact that this project has also contributed to a wider community here in Garnet Hill is fantastic." Report by Nicole Mitchell.
From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 1st of July 2022, in the news section, asylum seeker had unsafe and inappropriate items in his hotel room, an exclusive by David Goodwin. An asylum seeker has been found with unsafe and inappropriate items in his room at the Greenock Hotel requisitioned by the UK government to deal with a surge in applications. The items, the precise detail of which are being kept secret, were removed from the man shortly after their discovery at the town's Holiday Inn Express, it is understood. But the find is shrouded in mystery after a company contracted to oversee operations at the hotel repeatedly refused to answer a series of questions about the matter. Sources have told our sister paper, the Greenock Telegraph, that the man had flammable liquid and knives in his room. This claim was put directly to contractor Mears for the company, and it chose not to respond to this specific request for clarity. However, it is understood that the asylum seeker had items to use for cooking, which were not considered by Mears staff to be either safe or appropriate. Mears was reportedly asked to state specifically what the items were, but the contractor refused to provide any details. They also declined to say whether any future course of action had been taken in relation to the matter by health professionals and or police. The newspaper revealed earlier this month that the Holiday Inn Express was to be used to accommodate asylum seekers while their claims have been processed. The plan came to light when people who had tried to book rooms there were told none were available because the hotel had been booked out for the next 18 months. The UK government had been liaising with Inverclyde Council over the hotel takeover, and official local authority papers state that rooms are being used to accommodate men seeking asylum. 2 asylum seekers staying at the hotel were attacked and robbed while walking in the east end of Greenock a fortnight ago. Currently, around 50 asylum seekers are being accommodated at the Holiday Inn Express, with plans in place to house up to 71 adult men there in the future. Inverclyde Council and Police Scotland declined to comment on the discovery of the items deemed as unsafe and inappropriate. A spokesperson for Mears, which specialises in providing housing and social care, said, "A service user at the hotel had items in his room which he explained were used for cooking barbecues outside the hotel site. Staff explained that for safety reasons these should be not kept in the room, and they were removed. They will be returned when the service user moves from the hotel. No danger was presented to others at the hotel site. Records are kept of interactions with service users, and our records are shared with the Home Office. Our service users have a right to respect and privacy, and we do not provide personal information on individuals." And that article was an exclusive by David Goodwin. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 1st of July 2022, from the news section, Pollokshields man caught with nearly £500 worth of drugs in car, by senior reporter Lauren Brownlee. A Glasgow man was caught with nearly £500 worth of drugs. Shiraz Shabir, 42, appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last week after being charged with being in possession of cannabis with the intent to supply it to others. The prosecutor stated the drugs recovered were valued at £480 and accepted that part would be for personal use. Cops seized the cannabis from a vehicle being driven by Shabir at 12 p.m. on July 13th last year. His lawyer said, "He is a man who appears before the court with a number of previous involvements with the Misuse of Drugs Act. He has been involved for many years. In my view, it's more of a health matter as opposed to a criminal. I am asking you to put in place some sort of structured support. Unpaid work could be imposed for punishment." Sheriff Simone Sweeney told Shabir, "I will place you in a structured deferred sentence. The case will call again in 4 months' time, and the court will have a report on what progress you've made. Should you fail to take the opportunity, all sentencing options remain open to the court." The Pollokshields man will return to court in October. And that was an article by Lauren Brownlee. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 1st of July 2022, from the news section, Glasgow taxi driver attacked by thug ran onto street and shouted for help. An exclusive by Lauren Brownlee. A taxi driver had to run onto the street and shout for help after being attacked by a thug who left him injured. James Donaldson assaulted the man by repeatedly punching him in the head whilst he was driving on May the 3rd, 2020. The 37-year-old had been picked up at an unknown address earlier that night at 11:30 p.m. When he got into the back of the taxi, he smelled of alcohol and cannabis and was drinking from a can. When driving on London Road, Donaldson asked the driver, "Where are you taking me?" before being told he was going to the address he provided, which was confirmed. The journey continued, but Donaldson became hostile and grabbed the back of the driver's seat and lunged forward. He was told to sit back and took a disliking to this. At Glasgow Sheriff Court this week, prosecutor Brogan Moffat said, "He leaned across and began striking the driver to the left eye and face whilst the vehicle was moving. The driver immediately stopped the vehicle. He alighted and ran onto the road and shouted for help. He dialed 999 and police attended at 423 London Road immediately. Officers thereafter traced the accused a short distance away. He had fresh blood on his arm and leg. He was cautioned and charged and conveyed to Cathcart Police Office. He made no reply. The court heard the driver suffered a swollen eye and bruised nose. He phoned the hospital and provided details of his injuries, but was told not to attend due to COVID-19. He was prescribed eye drops and painkillers. Donaldson's lawyer explained his client was shocked he behaved in that manner. He said he was drinking heavily and had misused drugs prior to going into the taxi. He reports waking up in the taxi and thought he was being taken a different way than he should have been. He became paranoid and reacted in the way he narrated. He accepts the nature of the offence is serious, particularly coupled with his record. he has expressed remorse. The court heard that Donaldson of Townhead has made significant progress since the date of the offence. His defence solicitor added, he has been engaging with addiction services and has not been brought to the attention of the court since the offence. He hopes this matter will be brought to an end so he can move on. He is suitable for a community-based disposal. A structured deferred sentence would allow him to continue working with services. He'll do whichever disposal you deem appropriate given the nature of the offence. Sheriff Simon Sweeney told Donaldson, I can see that you have made significant progress to move forward. However, this is a very serious offence. He was placed under social work supervision for 1 year and ordered to stay within his home between 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for 108 days as a direct alternative to custody. And that article was an exclusive by Lauren Brownlee. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 1st of July 2022, from the news section, Police Scotland to withdraw goodwill as part of dispute over pay today, by Stacey Mullen and Catherine Bussey. Police officers in Scotland will today take the most overt demonstration of action in more than 100 years by withdrawing their goodwill amid an ongoing dispute over pay. Callum Steele, General Secretary of the Scottish Police Federation, which represents officers, said the action will start at 5 p.m. on Friday. While officers in Scotland are prohibited by law from taking industrial action, withdrawing goodwill will show significant discontent, Mr. Steele said. The action means officers will not start their shifts early or take radio equipment home when their duty ends. The union's governing body, the Joint Central Committee, JCC, had previously rejected a derisory offer of a £564 pay increase. In a letter to Chief Constable Ian Livingston, Mr. Steele said the action being taken was a manifestation of the strength of feeling of our members of the utter contempt this pay offer represents to them. He told Mr. Livingston, it will not be lost on you that this is the most significant discontent in the police service since the 1970s and the most overt demonstration of action by our members in over 100 years. Mr. Steele also spoke about the action to the BBC's Good Morning Scotland programme on Friday. He said further conversations about the pay offer had taken place on Thursday, almost the moment First Minister's questions came to an end, where the issue was raised in the Scottish Parliament. However, he said the Federation had not received a formal offer of improved pay and more talks would take place on Monday. He said, I think it's important that the demonstration as to the frustration that our members feel continues until such time as this pay dispute is resolved. Asked if the public could still rely on the police service as they normally would, he said, there's no reason whatsoever why there should be any alteration to the police service that the public receive, either as victims of crime or just through general day-to-day presence. A Police Scotland spokesperson stressed that the force remained committed to seeking a settlement. They said, we recognise the considerable goodwill officers bring to their roles on a daily basis as they keep people safe across the country, and this is also valued by the communities they serve. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has urged those involved to work together constructively in order that a fair and affordable pay increase can be agreed. She added, our police officers do deserve it, and we will continue to value policing and give it the priority it deserves. Pressed on the issue in Holyrood on Thursday, she said that Justice Secretary Keith Brown had had constructive discussions with the SPF in recent days. And that article was by Stacey Mullen and Catherine Bussey.
This article is from the Glasgow Times, date 1st July 2022, from the Lifestyle section. Glasgow makeup artist Yongchin Marika Breslin wins Glow Up, Britain's Next Makeup Star, by Morgan Carmichael. A Glasgow makeup artist has been crowned winner of a popular BBC Three show. Partick's Yongchin Marika Breslin triumphed in the 4th season of Glow Up, Britain's Next Makeup Star. The 25-year-old competed against fellow makeup artists in a number of different challenges set by professional judges Val Garland and Dominic Skinner. Some of the challenges this season included completing stage looks on artists for a live Cirque du Soleil performance at the Royal Albert Hall, working with special effects to create alien characters for Doctor Who, and imaginative makeup transformation tasks. Following her success, Young Chin told the Glasgow Times, "Going into the competition, I wanted to win. I didn't want to just be a competitor in it. It's crazy though, it's such a shock." Like so many other contestants, Young Chin found that her passion for makeup spurred her on to enter the show, and that such a love was landmark to her adolescence. She said, "I was always quite interested in makeup as it was the easiest way to change the way you look or your facial expressions. I used to always play with makeup when I was really young, literally just scribbling stuff on my face. I was always interested in fashion and I went to study fashion design. I've always enjoyed the research and development process that was spontaneous and creative." For Young Chin, a former Hillhead High School pupil, it was in university that she was able to recognise her passion for makeup in a professional setting. She said, "In my last year of university, I decided I wanted to do makeup. I was doing makeup for my sister who was modelling and for people on Halloween. Everybody was telling me to do makeup, and once I started, I went in a roll from there. So I'd watched the show previously, and it was one of the only shows that I thought, I can do that. I always wanted to do a TV show at some point and go through that competition experience." Young Chin's journey on the show was certainly precarious, having been in the red chair and in the bottom two during a couple of episodes. She said, "Coming into the competition, it's not just about how talented you are at makeup. It's got a lot to do with your mentality and maturity and your ability to move on and see past things. It's so easy to get into your own head, and the creative process is so long. It only starts to look good in the last 15 minutes, so you really have to trust yourself, and that's hard." Young Chin said she particularly loved her Focus, Celtic Warrior and Alexander McQueen looks during the show. She added, "Once you get past halfway, it becomes really intense because anyone can go. It's exhausting too because they really do judge it by you're only as good as your last look. It's judged on then and there, and if you've messed up, you're going home." Returning home a champion, Young Chin plans to celebrate her win with friends and family. She also has a clear vision for the future. Young Chin said, "Over the next few years, I want to work within shows for Fashion Week and write articles for fashion and beauty magazines. Thinking into the far future, in 5 to 10 years, I'd like to be a beauty editor of a fashion magazine and start to launch my own makeup brand." That article was by Morgan Carmichael. This article is from the Glasgow Times, date 1st July 2022, from the opinion section. Patriotic millionaires support a more progressive and fair system of taxation, by David Linden. Earlier this week, I met with the self-titled Patriotic Millionaires, a group of wealthy people who believe that they should be paying more tax than the British government is asking them to. It is a simple concept, really. These millionaires have either inherited a huge amount of wealth or have been incredibly lucky in business, and now believe it is their duty to make a greater financial contribution to society. I listened as the speakers described the advantages and privileges they experienced in their lives and spoke passionately for a fairer tax system to redistribute wealth more progressively. The issue of income inequality is at the forefront of many people's minds right now as the UK battles a cost of living crisis brought about by the perfect storm of Brexit, a pandemic, and over a decade of fiscal austerity. According to the OECD, the UK has one of the worst levels of income inequality in the developed world. We rank worse than Germany, France, and even Russia, while small independent countries such as Iceland, Norway, Denmark, and Slovenia are among those with the lowest pay gaps. Among other developed countries, the UK sticks out like a sore thumb for being a low-wage, high-inequality economy. We must do better. On Saturday, I joined the RMT union picket line at Glasgow Central to offer solidarity and support and talk to striking rail workers. There is a very legitimate sense of injustice among them about how they have been treated and of the disparity between their wages and those of the rail bosses. The two highest paid directors in Network Rail took home around £1 million between them in 2021. It has also been reported that some rail bosses are earning up to £650,000 every year. The Tory Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, glibly praised rail staff for their efforts as key workers throughout the pandemic, yet now chooses to attack them in the media rather than engage with unions to find a solution. So too has the Chancellor been responsible for enabling a culture of income inequality, of allowing the super wealthy to get richer while ordinary workers get poorer. HMRC payroll data shows that the pay at the top 1% is rising 3.5 times faster than the pay of those in the bottom 10%. Rishi Sunak is the richest Chancellor of the Exchequer in history, so incredibly well off that he and his wife have just entered the Sunday Times rich list. Are we really surprised that this obscenely wealthy man, who is solely responsible for public spending and taxation, is looking after himself and his friends, while everyone else suffers the largest drop in living standards in generations? Sunak has carefully cultivated a personal brand, no doubt in preparation for a future attempt to become Prime Minister. He has sought to capitalise on his role as administration of the furlough scheme to position himself as the saviour of normal everyday workers. In April this year, that pretence was shattered when news broke that the Chancellor's wife had claimed non-dom status, a move believed to have deprived the public purse of up to £20 million in taxes. The Chancellor certainly isn't a patriotic millionaire. Inflation is running at 9% and predicted to go higher, yet the Chancellor is imposing the highest tax burden on ordinary people in living memory. Those on low and middle incomes are feeling the squeeze most acutely, while the mega wealthy continue to grow their fortunes with ease. When Sunak says that the coming months will be tough for families, he's not talking about his family. He will not struggle to afford his weekly food shop. He will not struggle with the rising cost of his energy bills. He will not worry about how to make ends meet. The patriotic millionaires are vocal in their belief that the solution to dealing with crises, both present and future, is to adequately tax the wealthy. They say they would be proud to contribute more in order to reduce inequality, improve social care services, and support the poorest in our communities. But Sunak and the British government continue to raise taxes for working families, leaving the cost of the recovery to fall on the young or those with lower incomes. The patriotic millionaires support a more progressive and fair system of taxation as a means of creating a more just society and to address the cost of living crisis. So do I. But I'm not holding my breath waiting for the British government to do the right thing, and nor do I believe that Sunak will bring about policy that will force him to part with any of his huge personal wealth. For so long as we are subjected to Tory governments that we didn't vote for, Scotland won't be able to meaningfully change course. I want to live in a country where multimillionaires with a social conscience don't have to beg to be taxed more, and I'm willing to bet that whatever your constitutional views are, you do too. That article was by David Linden.
Glasgow Times News on Monday the 4th of July. GP warns councillors constant bashing is causing resignations. An article written by Drew Sandylance, local democracy reporter. An East End GP has said Glasgow practices are in distress and young doctors are leaving the profession due to constant bashing. Dr Richard Groden took offence to councillors' claims that residents couldn't get appointments, saying staff are working extremely hard. His comments came after a Labour councillor said her constituents had reported waiting times for face-to-face appointments are a disaster. Dr Groden said, "I do take offence to the anecdotal comments that councillors have raised. I work closely with practices across the city who are in distress because they can't recruit doctors. There are younger doctors leaving general practice because of the constant GP bashing that's been going on in the press during the period of COVID because of the pressure they're under." He said clinical directors had met on Wednesday to discuss GP sustainability, adding, "We have practices regularly asking how do they give their contract back, potentially, because of the distress that they're under." Speaking during a discussion on mental health in primary care services at a meeting of Glasgow's Integration Joint Board, Labour councillor Elaine McDougall said, "It's great to see they're developing all these services, but it's the access to the services that is the problem." Her Labour colleague, councillor Audrey Dempsey, added, "The GP surgery in my constituency is not seeing anyone. They're not even doing video consultations. They're asking you to send pictures via email, or you can't get past the triage workers, the receptionists." In response, Dr Groden said, "The volume of activity in general practice has hugely increased." He added, "To say that there's no GP access across a ward, I would love to see the evidence of that, please." An article written by Drew Sandylance. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 4th of July. Glasgow to join Europe-wide kite protest against the Taliban. An article written by Tom Torrance. Glasgow will be among the cities hosting a kite-flying festival to mark 1 year since the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. Fly With Me will celebrate the ancient Afghan craft of kite flying across 15 locations in the UK and Europe in an act of solidarity with the people of the country. The events on Saturday, August the 20th, will feature music, poetry and dance from Afghan artists and other community groups and highlight the cultural significance of kites in Afghanistan's history. The project comes from Good Chance Theatre, creators of The Walk with Amal, in which a giant puppet of a child refugee walked from the Turkish-Syrian border to Manchester. It's been developed with master Afghan kite maker and refugee Sanjar Kiam, who founded a toy shop in Brighton, as well as Afghanistan-born actor and director Elham Essas and Afghan musician Elaha Sorur. Funds raised will go to Afghan Aid and its By Her Side campaign to support women in rural Afghan communities. Through kite-making workshops, the project will tell the story of Zaki, a 12-year-old boy in Kabul who, in keeping with 800-year-old traditions, flies kites each autumn. After his brother Bahram was forced to flee by the Taliban, Zaki is learning how to make kites alone with his younger sister, Marwa. London, Manchester and Liverpool are among the other cities taking part in Fly With Me, along with Berlin, Paris and Copenhagen in Europe. Joe Murphy and Joe Robertson, co-artistic directors of Good Chance Theatre, said, "Kites remain attached to the ground through a single thread, but fly free of the borders that define the land. Kites are the embodiment of freedom and play. Looked at collectively on the stage of the sky, kites represent togetherness, our difference and our shared humanity." But the last time the Taliban ruled Afghanistan, kites were banned, along with music, free journalism, theatre and dancing. This simplest of devices of play and wonder and gaming and competition is also one of the most contested spaces in recent global history. That affront to freedom of expression is clearly being perpetuated again with the Taliban back in power. Fly With Me is a reminder to the world, remember Afghanistan. and so by making and flying kites in the Afghan tradition, led by Afghans who have made new lives in Europe and open to all, we'll be standing in solidarity with Afghans in the latest affront to their freedom and will remind the world of the devastating humanitarian crisis still taking place in Afghanistan today. Master kite maker Kiam said, "Kite flying is one of the world's earliest art forms. There are depictions of kites in cave paintings in Indonesia, which are 40,000 years old. In Afghanistan, kites occupy a unique space between national art form and national sport. They are a universal symbol of expression, skill and cultural pride. Fly With Me is an act of solidarity with the people of Afghanistan and an opportunity for all of us to come together and feel between our fingers the strings that connect us to this incredible country, its culture and its people." An article written by Tom Torrance. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 4th of July. Station passes mic to charity on online safety. An article written by Esther Tarnay, reporter. A radio station has partnered up with the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, or NSPCC, to promote online safety. Community station Sunny Govan is running a series of programmes called Kids Safety Net to highlight the importance of using the internet responsibly. Starting tomorrow, episodes will air every Tuesday at 4:15 p.m. for the next 5 weeks and will promote the NSPCC's free online safety group workshops for parents and carers. They're designed to help understand why young people go online and give them resources to help keep their children safe. The workshops can be booked to be held at schools, community groups or organisations. Steg Guilfoyle, station co-founder and manager of Sunny Govan Community Radio, said, "We're delighted to be able to work with NSPCC Scotland and highlight the vital work it does to help keep children safe. We hope that giving some airtime to an important issue such as online safety will help parents and carers to understand what their children face online daily and spread the word on how the NSPCC's workshops can help them and others." Gail Sales, local campaigns manager for NSPCC Scotland, said, "Our online safety workshops are an invaluable free resource for parents and carers, informing them about the challenges and risks that their children may face online and giving them the tools to help keep them safe. We'd like to thank Sunny Govan Community Radio for giving us their airtime to highlight these important workshops and the support the NSPCC can offer parents and carers to help keep children safe in their online worlds." An article written by Esther Tarnay. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 4th of July. Community turns out for protest to reopen local hub. An article written by Esther Tarnay, reporter. Dozens of protesters took to the streets to demand the reopening of a community hub. Ruckhill Community Centre has been closed since March 2020 due to the pandemic. On Saturday, after it emerged that a private residential developer expressed interest in purchasing the site, local campaigners came together to call on Glasgow City Council and Glasgow Life to reopen it. The protest comes after the Glasgow Times launched its Save Our Venues campaign, with the aim to reopen community facilities that are still closed after lockdowns. Protesters, including members of Glasgow Against Closures, the Canal Youth Forum and other local organisations, carried signs that read "Save Ruckhill." They were joined by Fiona Higgins, Labour councillor for the Canal Ward. She said, "The atmosphere was incredible, the sense of community spirit was palpable and tangible. People are so excited about it. I think it really proved the momentum of our campaign and its increased interest in it. We even had Queen Elsa show up for it, so word really has spread beyond the earthly universe, it seems." The Save Ruckhill Community Centre movement started in late 2020, at the same time as the Maryhill Library campaign, which has since reopened. Councillor Higgins said residents were told the delay in reopening was due to a lack of funding to cover the cost of essential repairs. However, she claimed some of the works would not be necessary to allow access. She added, "Ruckhill is a community that faces many social challenges. There's deprivation there, and as we know, Glasgow is a city that is fourth hardest hit by the cost of living crisis, and the area is one of the poorest in Glasgow. We really need local facilities because without them, many residents have no access to facilities at all. We need local resources to help people in their everyday lives, especially now. Hayden Atkin, chairperson of Canal Youth Forum, said, "We were glad to attend the event, which was hosted by the local community and by young people. The community centre is really important for local young people as it's a vital location for them to hang around. It lets local community organisations run events and youth groups. Young people in our community don't have a place to go to, and the community centre was a place where they could go and make friends and have fun." The pandemic has been a difficult time for all of us, especially for young people. We are used to hanging around with our friends, but the pandemic stopped that. Having a place open where we could all go would be amazing. A spokesperson for Glasgow Life said, "Glasgow Life has so far reopened more than 100 venues which were forced to close due to the pandemic." In its 2022-2023 budget, Glasgow City Council allocated a further £1.1 million of funding to reopen community venues following a consultation and prioritisation process. A report was approved at a council meeting in June outlining how we plan to undertake this process over the summer period. Any decision regarding the reopening of venues will be made at a future Glasgow City Council committee meeting. A petition to save Ruckle Community Centre has now reached more than 680 signatures. An article written by Esther Tarnay. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 4th of July. Transport Police launch campaign urging public to report sexual harassment. An article written by Rebecca Newlands, digital journalist. Transport Police have launched a new campaign urging people to act on incidents of sexual harassment they witness while travelling. British Transport Police, or BTP, launched the initiative as figures showed sexual offences on the rail network are up by more than a third, or 34%, since before the pandemic, with 20 more incidents in 2021 to 2022 compared to 2019 to 2020. It's hoped the Speak Up, Interrupt campaign will encourage those who witness any form of inappropriate sexual behaviour on the rail network to report these as well as safely intervene if they can. The BTP has launched a Railway Guardian app which can be used to report any such incidents, or people can text 61016 to inform officers. BTP Detective Chief Inspector Arlene Wilson said, "Everyone has a part to play in driving out sexual harassment. We'd like passengers on the rail network and the subway to make use of our text service and Railway Guardian app to seek support. We're not asking people to police the railway, that's our job. Being an active bystander or reporting an incident to us can make an enormous difference." The police officer told the public, "Your reports provide us with crucial information which helps build a picture of what's happening on the rail network and the subway to identify hotspots, deploy patrols and catch offenders. In the meantime, our officers are out across the network day and night looking out for you." Transport Minister Jenny Gilruth backed the important campaign, adding, "All of our passengers and staff have the right to travel on public transport without fear of being sexually assaulted, verbally or physically abused or harmed, and we all have a part to play. I thank the British Transport Police for their work to make our railways safer for everyone and encourage passengers and staff alike to help drive out all inappropriate behaviour." Joanne Maguire, Chief Operating Officer at ScotRail, said, "Everyone has the right to go about their day in peace without fear of harassment or abuse, and ScotRail works very closely with British Transport Police to ensure that Scotland's railway is a safe environment for our customers and our own people." While the number of sexual offences may have risen, it's encouraging that the number of reported notifiable crimes in Scotland, including sexual offences, remain among the lowest in the UK. To assist us in tackling unacceptable behaviour, it's important for anyone who witnesses it to report those responsible. An article written by Rebecca Newlands. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 4th of July. Thousands join Orange Walk. An article written by Tom Torrance and read by Howell. Thousands of people took to the streets of Glasgow this weekend to take part in an annual Orange Walk. The Boyne celebration is the busiest day in the Protestant marching calendar and marks the anniversary of the 1690 Battle of the Boyne. On Saturday, police accompanied marchers playing instruments and waving banners and flags. Around 40 marches took place, with the biggest, hosted by the County Grand Orange Lodge of Glasgow, was believed to have more than 4,000 people in the main procession. An estimated 7,500 people took part in total. A number of road closures were in place, mainly throughout the city centre, with 33 roads shut to traffic between 5 a.m. and 4 p.m. Police thanked the large majority of people who acted responsibly during the marches. In a statement, it was revealed that a total of 7 people were arrested in Glasgow. Police Scotland Chief Superintendent Stevie Dolan said, "Officers in Glasgow made a total of 7 arrests and issued 12 fixed penalty notices during the Orange Order processions on Saturday, July the 2nd. The offences were primarily for breach of the peace and acts of antisocial behaviour. A proportionate policing plan was in place, and we worked with a range of partners to ensure public safety and reduce disruption to the wider community. I'd like to thank the vast majority of the participants and the wider community who engaged positively and behaved responsibly throughout." An article written by Tom Torrance.
From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 5th of July 2022, from the news section. Fans delighted as Scottish comedy Two Doors Down sets to return, by Nicole Mitchell. Fans of Two Doors Down have shared their joy at the fantastic news that the comedy will return to TV screens this month. The show's writer, Simon Carlyle, retweeted the news on Twitter that the second half of Series 5 will begin airing on Tuesday the 12th of July at 10 p.m. on BBC Two, after the first half aired in December last year. It has also been confirmed that Series 6 will begin airing later this year. Set in the fictional Scottish suburban street of Latimer Crescent, Two Doors Down began with a pilot in 2013, before Series 1 began in 2016. The show stars Arabella Weir, Alex Norton, Elaine C. Smith, Dún McKeechan, Jonathan Watson, Jamie Quinn, Kieran Hodgson, Joy McAvoy and Grado. Following the announcement, delighted fans took to Twitter to express their joy at the fantastic news of the show's return. One person wrote, "Hurry back, we've missed you." Another said, "Love this show so much, can't wait." A third person twisted, "Brilliant, can't wait." Scott Squad star Grado also shared a picture on Instagram with his Two Doors Down co-star Jonathan Watson travelling back from a read-through of Series 6 in London. The caption read, "Me and the wee man heading back fae #Two Doors Down Series 6 read-through in London at Johnny Watson." This article was by Nicole Mitchell.
From the Glasgow Times of Tuesday the 5th of July 2022, from the opinion section, Katrina Stewart. Gig goers are having a nightmare on Glasgow's public transport. I've been very fortunate over the past week or two to have had Ed Sheeran, Calvin Harris, Liam Gallagher and Deacon Blue performing in my living room. Or at least it certainly sounded that way, the noise thudding over from Queen's Park and Hampden Park and thumping around my flat. Next weekend for Transmit, I'll have a wide variety of bands agitating my double glazing all the way from Glasgow Green, including Paolo Nutini, and let me just take this opportunity to emphasise how welcome he is any day, any time. One of the great things about living on the south side is being walking distance from so many music venues. Recently, it's been really heartening to have so many bands back in the city. Green Day at Bellahouston Park and Alanis Morissette at the Hydro. The city feels like it's coming back to its old self again after a horrible 2 years of lockdown meant missing out on so many experiences. But what a welcome back for visitors to the city who are travelling in to see these gigs. And what a kick in the teeth to local residents. Each event has been greeted by accompanying headlines, "No trains." We had no trains running after Liam Gallagher's Glasgow gig, There were no trains leaving Mount Florida returning to Glasgow Central after the Calvin Harris concert, nor Primal Scream, thanks to the temporary timetable in place. Now we've been told to seek alternative travel after Transmit this coming Sunday night, with no city centre services operating after the festival closes. The train strikes have been well publicised, and I support industrial action. Standing up for fair pay for fair work is the right thing to do. It's not just the trains though. The pandemic saw off the city's night bus services, and those have been slow to return. Some routes finish around 11 p.m, so your option if you want to go out and take public transport home is to miss the end of the gig. Concert tickets cost hundreds of pounds, so no one wants to quit a gig early. You see it though at music events and also recently at evening films. Folk dashing out before the end of the show because they've got public transport to grab. Good luck getting on the subway after 6:30 p.m. on a Sunday. It's still mind-blowing that the underground services are so limited on a weekend. What kind of major metropolitan city has limited to no public transport after 10 p.m? I had a sit-down recently with the CEO of First Glasgow, who gave a very credible defence for why we can't compare Glasgow to other cities, which is fair enough, but it's tough not to when you see what other people have, and then you look at what we have. People have been tweeting about how it's going to be a mad dash to get home to Stirling after Transmit on Sunday night, as the last train is 11:23 p.m. But the main stage performance finishes around 10:50 p.m. That's a sprint to make it to Queen Street Station on time, if you're able to do it. Glasgow has long been lamenting its lack of decent joined-up public transport. Now, in post-COVID recovery and with rail strikes underway, we really see the impact this is having on our nighttime economy. I've walked home from town several times and routinely cycle home after midnight, but a lot of women don't feel safe walking around the city after dark. Some will stay at home rather than risk being stranded and having to go on foot. It's not good enough that people feel they must self-exclude from events due to a lack of transport, one of the most basic functions of a city. We're meant to be a city of culture. We can only credibly call ourselves that if everyone has access to what's on offer. The taxi shortage is ongoing too. Even if you can afford a cab home, good luck finding one. I tried to get an Uber home at 1 a.m. recently, but after a 40-minute wait gave up and called a taxi company. The dispatcher answered with the words, "We don't have any taxis," and then hung up the phone. I was in London recently and spent the weekend cutting about with no problems using my Oyster card. It's night and day to what we have in Glasgow. In fact, just about every city I've been in recently has made it easy to get around. In Chicago in March, I used my Ventra card to hop about. In Denmark and Sweden in April, there were ample rail and bus choices to get around. I used one travel card to go on multiple transport options, including boats in Tbilisi, in Georgia, and in Istanbul. All of this also happened after midnight too. Public transport feeds the economy, yet here we are back again talking once more about the fractured public transport system. There are reasons for all of these current issues. Rail strikes and a shortage of drivers has affected the trains. First Bus is finally reinstating 11 night bus routes, and that will ease the pressure and be welcomed by passengers. But will it be enough to serve everyone who needs it? Probably not. There simply aren't enough taxi drivers to serve the city. Increases in fuel costs, compulsory moves to low emissions vehicles, cabbies switching jobs to become delivery drivers. All of these things are limiting the workforce. But explanations, no matter how sensible, are cold comfort for the people employed in our nighttime economy and those who want to use it. The bus company points at the council, and the rail unions point at the government, and the government points at the rail unions, and the council points at plans it has for the future. Meanwhile, we're all on a road to nowhere. What an embarrassment, what an utter shame for the city. This article was by Katrina Stewart.
From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 5th of July 2022, from the news section. Man due to appear at Paisley Sheriff Court in connection with incident that led to evacuation of Glasgow Airport Terminal. By Nicole Mitchell. A man is due to appear in court in connection with an incident that led to the evacuation of a terminal at Glasgow Airport. Cops were called to the airport's domestic arrivals hall around 6:30 p.m. yesterday following reports of an unattended bag. The area was evacuated as a precaution while inquiries were carried out. It was established there was no risk to the public and the area was fully reopened at around 8:30 p.m. Now, officers have confirmed that a 23-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with the incident. He is due to appear at Paisley Sheriff Court today, and a report will be sent to the Procurator Fiscal. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, around 6:30 p.m. on Monday, July the 4th, 2022, officers received a report of an unattended bag in the domestic arrivals hall of Glasgow Airport. The area was evacuated as a precaution. Following inquiries, it was established there was no risk to the public. The airport was then fully reopened. A 23-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with this incident. He is due to appear at Paisley Sheriff Court on Tuesday, July the 5th. A report will be forwarded to the Procurator Fiscal. This report was by Nicole Mitchell. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 5th of July 2022, from the news section. Woman prone to nosebleeds kicked out of Glasgow gig after being accused of taking drugs. By Lauren Brownlee. A young woman prone to nosebleeds says she was kicked out of the Calvin Harris gig on Saturday after being accused of taking drugs. Jess Napier claims a security guard told her that she would have to leave after assuming that she was under the influence of cocaine, reports the Daily Record. She says she was escorted off the premises without even being given a chance to prove she was sober. G4S, the firm which was managing the event's safety, have confirmed they will investigate and urged Jess to get in contact. Jess told the Record, I had been standing on the pitch with my friends when I went to the toilet when the second support act was on. When I was there, I had a nosebleed, something I've been prone to getting in the last 6 months, so I'm in the middle of doing tests at hospital. When I came out of the toilet, a security guard asked me if I was okay and then said I was going to have to leave. He said that I had been clearly taking drugs. I didn't know what to say or think. I was in such a panic that I really had to hold back the tears. The 20-year-old was attending the gig with 3 friends and had volunteered to be the designated driver for the group due to no public transport being available. Jess was left shocked and upset after being separated from her friends at 6:40 p.m. She had to wait several hours for them to come out as she couldn't make contact due to a lack of signal. Jess, from Edinburgh, added, the security guard could clearly see that I was sober. I had not been drinking and I have never taken any drugs in my life, so I was quite taken aback. I did see people about with nosebleeds, and I'm aware that you can get them from taking cocaine. So I get it must be hard to manage, but I really did not get the chance to prove that it wasn't drugs. I would have been happy to take a drug test, but they just told me to get out without even giving me any medical assistance. There was no regard for my safety. I've wasted £62 on a concert I didn't even get to see. A G4S spokesperson said, "We take complaints very seriously and we would urge the individual involved to get in contact so that we can investigate." That article was by Lauren Brownlee.
From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 6th of July 2022, from the news section, Glasgow dad determined to get married after fearing he has just 6 months to live, by Kirsty Feerick. A determined dad has vowed to marry the love of his life after finding out he is dying. Peter Pender fears he may just have 6 months to live after being told his bladder cancer is terminal. The 53-year-old from Glasgow is planning to marry Diane Sutherland, 43, next week to grant her last wish from him. The couple will tie the knot at Coates Church in Paisley on July the 15th and are trying to fundraise to pay for the event. Peter has been left gutted by the heartbreaking news and how he won't be able to watch his 3 young teenagers grow up. Despite the tragic revelation, he's determined to stay positive and keep fighting all the way. Peter told the Glasgow Times, "I was told I was terminal and asked my partner of 22 years what her last wish would be. She wanted to get married, so I said yes. I've been with her for 22 years. I met her when she was 21 and I was 30. We hit it off and I've been with her ever since. I'm gutted about dying as I have 3 young kids aged 18, 16 and 14. It's them I feel sorry for as they're watching me suffer. I'm still alive and fighting it all the way, so I've told people not to treat me any differently. The day will come when the cancer takes me down, but I'm still here and living day by day. Doctors told me I've less than a year, but because it's aggressive, I reckon about 6 to 9 months." Peter was first diagnosed with cancer 5 years ago and had major surgery to remove his bladder and tumour. He thought he was about to get the all clear this year before his last scan revealed tragic news. The cancer had returned and a PET scan in April revealed there was nothing doctors could do. He was terminal. Now Peter and Diane are trying to raise £2,000 to help pay for their big day to help them at this difficult time. Charity Wedding Wishmakers released a statement on social media. It read, "Thanks to everyone who has donated, offered their support, and who is providing their goods and services and giving up their free time to help make this dream wedding possible for Peter and Diane. We are still quite a bit away from our goal for donations to help pay for things, so we are giving it another push to try to make this possible. If you can help, even if it's just £1, it all adds up, help make this wedding possible. We really appreciate your continued support." A GoFundMe page for the couple reads, "Peter was diagnosed with bladder cancer 5 years ago. He was hoping to get the all clear, but, unfortunately, he received devastating news that the cancer had spread and was now terminal. As soon as Peter got over the shock, he proposed to Diane, his partner of 22 years. The couple have 3 children, 14, 16 and 18. The couple now plan to be married Friday, July the 15th. Peter's sister Helen and her family have rallied around, arranging decor, cakes, photography, flowers and more. Coates Paisley have very kindly offered their stunning venue free of charge, but we still have a long way to go as we need £2,000 to help pay for the catering, wedding licences, etc. You can donate to Peter and Diane's wedding online." And that article was written by Kirsty Feerick. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 6th of July 2022, from the news section, Hunt launched for 3 men after targeted murder bid in Glasgow's Gartcraig Road, by Sarah Campbell. A man has been left seriously injured after a targeted attempted murder in Glasgow's East End last night. At around 10 p.m, 3 men in hooded clothing entered the premises on Gartcraig Road and attacked the 39-year-old. He was later rushed to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital, where he remains now. The 3 male suspects are described as being white, and 2 were wearing face coverings at the time of the attack. Police are now appealing for any information that might assist them in their inquiries. Detective Inspector Ross Jameson of Chesterton CID said, "A man has been seriously injured in what we believe to be a targeted attack. I am appealing to anyone who is in the Gartcraig Road area around the time of the incident to get in touch with officers as soon as possible. If you notice the 3 men in the street, or any other small piece of information that could prove relevant to our inquiries, I would urge you to contact police. I would also ask motorists who were driving in the area around that time to check their footage, as it may have captured images which should help us in locating the men responsible for this attack. Anyone with information is asked to call Police Scotland via 101, quoting incident number 3402 of July the 5th, 2022. Alternatively, you can call Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111, that's 0800 555 111, and give your information anonymously. And that article is by Sarah Campbell. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 6th of July 2022, from the news section, men charged after allegedly attacking each other with broken bottles. 3 men have been charged with serious assault following a disturbance in Renfrewshire. Police said the incident took place in St Mirren Street, Paisley, at around 9:40pm on Tuesday, reports her sister titled The Gazette. It is claimed all 3 men, aged 30, 34 and 40, suffered facial cuts after attacking each other with broken bottles. The trio were arrested by police and taken to separate hospitals for treatment. A spokesperson for Paisley CID said, "We are not seeking anyone else in relation to this matter and are thankful for the public's assistance. A report will be sent to the Procurator Fiscal." And that was a report by Jacob Nichol. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 6th of July 2022, from the news section, Rangers to pay tribute to the late Andy Gorham with minute's silence as funeral arrangements confirmed, by David Irvin. Rangers have announced the club will pay tribute to legendary keeper Andy Gorham with a minute's silence ahead of their pre-season match against Sunderland. The Ibrox club will hold the minute's silence as the first of a number of tributes to the goalie after he passed away on Saturday following a short battle with cancer. The iconic Rangers and Scotland keeper made 260 appearances for the Ibrox side between 1991 and 1998, winning 5 league titles, 3 Scottish Cups and 2 League Cups. The Scottish football world united in mourning after the news on Saturday, with Rangers now announcing the plans to honour Gorham, who passed aged 58. Rangers confirmed Gorham's funeral will take place on Monday the 18th of July at Wellington Church. The next day, Ibrox representatives will lay a wreath prior to the West Ham United friendly fixtures. The club also announced further tributes have been planned for that evening, Tuesday, 19th of July, to allow supporters to pay their respects to Gorham. A Rangers statement reads, "Rangers can today confirm there will be a minute's silence ahead of Saturday's friendly against Sunderland in memory of legendary goalkeeper Andy Gorham." Gorham made 260 appearances for Gers between 1991 and 1998. In that time, he won 5 league titles, 3 Scottish Cups and 2 League Cups. He sadly passed away on Saturday, following a short battle with cancer at the age of 58. The club can also today confirm Andy's funeral will take place on Monday, 18th of July, at Wellington Church. The following day, representatives of Rangers will lay a wreath prior to the West Ham United friendly match, with further tributes planned for that evening to allow supporters to pay their final respects to the goalie. And that article is by David Irvin.
And that was this week's Glasgow Times News podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes with the publisher's kind permission. Thanks for listening.